My name's Aaron Miller of Nth Moto out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. We're here at Florida 2K. Where are we at? October 2020, out racing, having a good time. We've got two Vipers here that we built for the drag racing class. We came to participate in the street car shootout. Kind of fits well to the type of cars that we do. One being Lee Saunders' 2006 SRT10 Coupe. We kind of affectionately call that Old Blue. It's probably the car that most people first knew us for, actually. That came out back in the spring of 2014. That car went 213.5 mile on an 18-inch wheel. Rear-wheel drive car that was really kind of unheard of back then, and then it went and ran at Texas Invitational, and had good results throughout the years. It's kind of been a slow evolution car. It's Gen 3 engine architecture still a pretty simple bottom end in that thing, and nowadays it's got a ATI Outlaw lockup Turbo 400 in it, and the owner likes to do a lot more drag racing, which is we're all about. That car's on some Garrett 80mm turbochargers, our Nth Moto billet intake manifold. Being Gen 3 architecture, it has what's known as a striker cylinder head on there, which was an aftermarket casting for them. It's a very, very, very mild driving build combination. Very quick spooling, easy driving car, all that jazz. Tested on Wednesday night, it went a 770 at 188. It's a flex fuel car, runs on 1 ethanol R here at the track for really good consistency and power on the fuel. Saturday, we only got one test hit on it, and it spun, went an 8.9 at 184, which doesn't really line up that well, but it put us into the second tier of the street car shootout class. So on the blue car, being the earlier engine architecture, which we kind of hit on earlier, they're torque monsters. That one's only 510 inches, just slightly altered from OE, but it just makes massive torque down low. On the hub dyno, made 2200 wheel, 2000 torque, so that spread is just much, much tighter than what we're doing on the late model motors, which is a challenge, and it's fun. It makes it in a lot of ways easier to race, a lot more flexible, but doesn't rev nearly as high, which is fine. It still goes 7,600, but that's a pretty big difference there. Its best has been actually this week, or this time out with the car. It went a 770 at 188. Prior to that, it had been a 784. It has all the makings of, we think ultimately probably get into the 755 to 760 range. But that thing still has full air conditioning and power steering, and all the accoutrements are in that. Yeah, so I think that does for that car. Good shift. The other one is what has become known as Juggernaut. That's Will Dugas with the 01 GTS that's behind me, Gen 5 engine architecture, so 2013 and up stuff. We did a kind of a little expose YouTube video on that recently that kind of explains some of the details there, but in shorter context, it's Gen 5 engine architecture, OEM block, cylinder heads, no concrete fill or hard block or any of that jazz. ATI lockup Outlaw 400 again. Garrett 88's on it. Our billet intake manifold, really beautiful billet intercooler assembly, all Motec electronics. So Juggernaut definitely has a lot of attention detail to it if you look through it, and it kind of is the idea of the way we wanted to build a race car to try to compete is to have the data that you need. The electronics package on it is one of the over-the-top aspects. It's on a Motec M190 ECU. We're running 20 Injector Dynamics ID 1700Xs on that thing. It's a dry sump oil system. The engine itself, that's a unique part about Nth Moto. We own and operate our own engine machine shop as part of our company. So that's fantastic for us to be able to do on-the-fly changes and work hand in hand with the engine shop, and not so, I don't know, it's just an easier situation if it's under your own control there. and with that we have our own sleeve system for these engines. It's got a Cali's crank in the thing, so that brings it out to a 540-inch motor, so just a slightly long stroker on there. Our CNC ported cylinder heads, all of our normal valve train stuff, and when I say normal, I guess what I mean by that is that engine is not really very different from our normal, typical big power turbo Viper builds that you may have seen, or that TRC did a killer feature on back at Texas 2K with the silver ACR, and then the black TA 2.0 that was out, and Mud Truck back when it was on the stock motor. There's an awesome video on that if you guys haven't seen that. It's a good oldie but a goodie there. The engine's pretty similar, and that was kind of the point, to see how far we could take this stuff. It's our same steel connecting rod that we run, same piston design, same head gasket system, same head stud arrangement. It's a hydraulic lifter motor. It's got full 5-inch exhaust out the back of it, which is a very unique attribute. And it's really kind of funky to be around it in the pits because it's so quiet in front of the car. There's no valve train tick noise or any of that kind of stuff, and then it's massive amounts of volume behind it, so it's pretty fun. We do all our own in-house fabrication work, and it was a roller we started with for Will, and then turned it into what it is now. Definitely a snowball project. All tubular control arms in the back that we've gone through, kind of our own unique independent rear suspension setup in that. It is still an IRS car, the center housing, and a lot of that is very different, mostly because back again, it's a very heavy chassis to start with. You need some incredibly robust stuff to handle trying to go low 120s, or hopefully we can eventually get in the teens and the 60. It's on a Mickey ET Street 315 Pro in the back. Full radiator car and all that. I mean, it's built to run these kind of street cruise classes. It runs cool, drives around, no big deal on that. We do spin it pretty decent for this configuration. Vipers aren't known for RPM necessarily. This one, if we need to, can go to 8,200. So on 39 pounds boost, which is really not a lot in this kind of power realm, especially when you see the pressure ratio, intake to exhaust on it, and how happy everything seems. There's no real reason we couldn't go to more. It just didn't really necessarily see the need to. It made 3103 to the on our hub dyno and 2400 torque, and that was about enough to say, okay, like if we need it, we have it, and let's get the thing to work on the short track, which I think we did a really good job of this weekend. So we're getting there. We're probably using it looks like around 26 to 2700 horsepower right now, so it certainly has more on the table, but man, for a heavy girl, it did very well in the 8th, so a lot of excitement there. We qualified number 2 when at 716 at 208, I think it was, to qualify in the number 2. I'm sorry, 717 at 208. Gets confusing on the teens here because quite happily the car's been damn near a bracket car. 716, a 717 with a 3, a 717 with a 9, a 718, a 722, and then it just went a 721 at 180 only because it lost the drive shaft out of it. Something about big heavy cars and trying to do low 120 60 foots and stuff. Eventually it beats up things. So yeah, I mean, we can't be mad at all. These cars you don't normally see in actual racing, actual drag races, meaning like, sure, go out to a test session and try and hit a personal best or some little exhibition things, but that's not what we want to do. Like, we want to come run this stuff and go to some real racing, and these types of events, we're very thankful that Florida 2K had this race to put on, and that we were lucky enough to be able to get in and participate in it and showcase a very different type of car. And it seems to have been a pretty, I don't know, man, kind of a crowd favorite around here. It seemed like there's a lot of attention surrounding it, which we're very grateful for. Very unique sound. Put up some big mile per hour all weekend, and we kept kind of trying to slowly get down lower in those low 7s, and ultimately on our goal to get into the 6s with that car. Even at a 716, that's about an eternity away. It feels like trying to get that last bit, but we're excited to keep playing with it and try and work our way there.
of the GTR. I don't think we've seen the full potential out of this guy. So here we go. Let's get the OG matchup here.
Who's calling it? We've got 3 Vipers that we built here, 2 of which are Gen 5s, 1 of which a Gen 3 car. I've got Rich Franchi's 2013 GTS, really neat car, built motor, twin turbo, sequential, some aero modification bits, good suspension, beautiful forge line beadlock wheels. Really pretty car. We used to call that the luxurious killer because it's got the fancy GTS 18 speaker sound and all the nice leather and all that jazz, but makes, in this weather, making around 1850 at the tire, 1900 wheel, something like that. Really nice driving car, pretty fun. He's qualified pretty well right now. It's at 180 or 181, something like that. Last night we did a little drag racing with it, went an 890, 170 something, I don't know. So that was pretty entertaining, just to try to launch the sequential car out and let him have some fun. the mud truck, as everyone has known it. He's out here 2014 TA 1.0, car number 19, I believe. Neat car. That one's pretty unique. It started life as a stock motor turbo car, and then ended up graduating to a built motor, good drive line in it. So we call it the small turbo car still, because it's a really fast spooling, really broad power band. But it's sneaky. It gets up quick and it gets out really well. He's only made one qualifying pass so far at around 170, which I think is probably a little shy where it'll end up at. But it's a quick ET car, and that's what's neat about this event. It's sometimes not very highlighted. This is an ET race, even though it's all based off qualification of mile per hour, and that's what everybody talks about and sees on the boards. But at the end of the day, it's still a first to finish. So ET is kind of the deal. Felipe Armenta's 05 SRT. That's a unique looking car. It's Lamborghini balloon white, and then it's a convertible, but with an aftermarket hardtop on it. Kind of a different look to it. Really neat, unique Nth Moto wheels that we have there, with the big 315 Pro Mickey on the back. That's an ATI TH400 lockup car. It's the older generation car, older generation engine architecture, so they're a lot more big torque early on. Doesn't necessarily have the lungs upstairs the way the late model motors do, but it does well. It's been a long time competitor, been to a bunch of different events with that. Usually a very strong contender out there, and he went 179 on the first lick, so going back up now here shortly to try a little bit more, and I anticipate that'll do a little better yet, and then it'll be time to go to rounds, which will be really fun. So the two Gen 5 cars are on a Motec M1 ECU system. That's a phenomenal electronics package that we do on all the Gen 5 vehicles, seamlessly integrated on all the CAN information on the car. No one's wiser kind of thing, all the OE functions inside the vehicle, SRT pages all work, all that fun stuff. We do neat CAN integration features where they're all flex fuel cars. That's something we're huge proponents of, using ethanol. All three of these cars are on 1-ethanol R right now. That is by far and away the best ethanol fuel that we have used. Extremely consistent, really good power results, and never have to worry about that. That's a really nice thing to do. Helps these cars work really well in this heat, which is fantastic since it's hot. Gen 3 is on an AM Infinity system. Fantastic running ECU in there. That's been a really good working car for many, many years on that stuff. Those are the two ECU systems that we focus on primarily within our shop. And they have kind of very different approaches to how they go about things, which is a little bit challenging as a calibrator myself to kind of like jump back and forth between them. But both, I mean, we're able to make them both put big power down in rear-wheel drive cars, both on not drag racing surfaces and on track surfaces. Both have kind of a different way to go about it, and very effective on both, as you're hearing one of them fired up to get ready to go again. So in different power management, I mean, that is really kind of the name of the game out here, is how early can you apply, you know? So different, whether it's a big tire automatic car, whether it's a 18-inch sequential car, or if it's an H-pattern deal, you know, there's different ways that you have to kind of approach that calibration to make them work on these different surfaces. And out here, thankfully, at Bradenton, with Wade doing some track prep, I mean, we're not having to, if I'm honest, we're not having to work that hard to make it, put it down. Some of that has to do with how heavy these things are, you know, anywhere between 3,700 to 3,900 pounds with driver, which is ugly, but we do what we can.